Hey there, horror fans. Welcome back to my channel, where we dive deep into the world of chills and thrills. Today, we're unraveling the mysteries of a movie that's part of a franchise some of you might remember fondly, or not so fondly. Grab your protective amulets and prepare yourselves, because we're about to explore Wishmaster 3, Beyond the Gates of Hell, from 2001. Now, if you're new here or just need a refresher, the Wishmaster series revolves around an evil djinn, a genie, but not the friendly kind, who grants 3 wishes in exchange for some pretty dire consequences. Sounds intriguing, right? Well, that's what I thought before diving into the 3rd installment. So, what's the setup this time? An ancient evil djinn takes over the body of a university professor and is on a mission to coax a student into making 3 wishes. Why? So he can unleash his fellow djinn upon the world, of course. Classic djinn stuff. But let me tell you, the 3rd wish in this movie is the worst one of them all, and not in a good way. Directed by Criss Angel, not to be confused with The Magician, and starring Jason Connery, AJ Cook, and John Novak, Wishmaster 3 tries to continue the legacy of its predecessors. But does it capture the same magic? Let's break it down. Our story begins with Diana Collins, played by AJ Cook, a college student grappling with the tragic loss of her parents. She receives a mysterious package containing an ancient box. Naturally, curiosity gets the best of her, and she opens it without much effort, because who needs complex puzzles or warnings in movies, right? Inside, she discovers a gem that's eerily reminiscent of one we've seen before in the series. She gives it a little rub, classic mistake, and unknowingly awakens the djinn. Enter Professor Barish, portrayed by Jason Connery. He's the quintessential creepy yet charming college professor who's been eyeing Diana for more than just her academic prowess. He invites her over for a night of research, heavily implying there's more on the agenda than studying. Diana arrives early, stumbles upon the box, and sets the whole nightmare in motion. After an awkward interaction with the professor, she leaves, and that's when things start to get bizarre. The djinn appears, seeking the one who woke him, Diana, but instead, he encounters Professor Barish. The professor makes a wish, as one does when confronted by a supernatural being. His wish? Well, it's implied he desires some intimate company. The djinn obliges, and 2 scantily clad women materialize. It seems like a dream come true until, in true horror fashion, they turn on him, resulting in a deadly encounter. A cautionary tale about being careful what you wish for, quite literally. What follows is a meandering journey that's as much about Diana's internal struggles as it is about the external threat of the djinn. We spend a significant portion of the movie watching Diana grapple with guilt over her parents' death, which could have added depth to her character, but instead feels like filler. Meanwhile, the djinn, now wearing the professor's skin, saunters around campus trying to locate Diana. He even takes over teaching duties, delivering lectures about djinn involvement in major historical events. It's a strange mix of dark humor and absurdity that doesn't quite land. One of the more peculiar aspects of the film is how it handles wishes. In the previous movies, wishes often led to creatively gruesome outcomes, a sort of macabre monkey's paw. Here, the wishes are less inventive and more lackluster. For instance, a character wishes to be beautiful forever, and instead of a twisted twist, she simply turns into a mannequin. It's a missed opportunity for some real horror ingenuity. Now, let's talk about the angel subplot. Yes, you heard that right. As if the movie wasn't juggling enough, they introduce an angelic being sent to destroy the djinn. He possesses Diana's boyfriend, Greg, adding an extra layer of confusion. This celestial warrior comes equipped with a magical sword, the only thing that can kill a djinn, apparently. But here's the thing, where was this angel in the first 2 movies? The sudden introduction of this lore feels forced and raises more questions than it answers. It's as if the writers threw in the angelic element to spice things up but didn't think through the implications. Performance-wise, the actors do their best with what they've been given. AJ Cook, who you might recognize from Criminal Minds, delivers a decent performance as Diana. She portrays the emotional weight of her character's backstory earnestly, even if the script doesn't support her efforts. Jason Connery, son of the legendary Sean Connery, takes on the dual role of Professor Barish and the jinn-possessed version of him. While he brings a certain charm to the professor, his portrayal of the jinn lacks the menace and charisma that Andrew Divoff brought to the role in the first two films. Speaking of the jinn, John Novak steps in to don the makeup and prosthetics. Unfortunately, the jinn's screen time in his true form is minimal. When he does appear, the makeup effects are underwhelming, especially when compared to the practical effects of the earlier installments. The jinn's design looks cheaper, less intimidating, and overall less inspired. One of the hallmarks of the Wishmaster series is its creative and often gruesome special effects. Fans expect over-the-top wish fulfillments that go horribly wrong, resulting in memorable horror moments. Sadly, Wishmaster 3 falls short in this department. Take, for example, a scene where a character literally pukes their guts out. It has the potential to be a standout moment, but the execution feels half-hearted. The practical effects lack the polish and shock value that made similar scenes in the prior movies so effective. The film does attempt to ramp up the stakes with action sequences, especially towards the climax. Diana, armed with the angel's sword, confronts the jinn in a showdown that's supposed to be epic. Yet, the choreography is clunky, and the tension is virtually non-existent. The jinn's demise feels anticlimactic, and the resolution leaves much to be desired. Now, I want to take a moment to discuss the nudity. Previous Wishmaster films did shy away from gore or nudity, aspects that, for better or worse, are often expected in horror sequels. Wishmaster 3 finally introduces nudity into the series, which might appease some fans looking for that classic 80s and 90s horror vibe. However, it's clear that this addition is an attempt to compensate for the film's shortcomings elsewhere. Nudity alone can't save a horror movie that's lacking in story, suspense, and creativity. It feels more like a checkbox ticked off than an organic part of the narrative. Let's talk about the production quality. Wishmaster 3 was shot on a noticeably lower budget, and it shows. The cinematography is bland, the sets are uninspired, and the special effects are subpar. It has the unmistakable feel of a made-for-cable movie, which diminishes any sense of cinematic grandeur. Moreover, the pacing of the film is a significant issue. There are long stretches where nothing substantial happens. We watch characters wander around, search through old books, and deliver exposition we've already heard in previous installments. The lack of action or meaningful character development makes the 90-minute runtime feel much longer. Now, I want to address the jinn as the antagonist. In the earlier films, the jinn was a cunning, malevolent force, delighting in twisting the wishes of unsuspecting victims. His interactions were a mix of dark charm and sinister intent. In Wishmaster 3, the jinn comes off as a third-rate Freddy Krueger, without the wit or the genuinely terrifying presence. His one-liners fall flat, and his methods lack the inventive cruelty that made the original character so memorable. It's disappointing to see such a potentially rich villain reduced to a cliché, cackling nemesis. The supporting characters are also underdeveloped. Friends and classmates exist merely as fodder for the jinn's schemes, and their fates don't evoke the emotional impact they should. We don't learn enough about them to care when they meet their predictable ends. So, where does that leave us? Wishmaster 3, Beyond the Gates of Hell feels like a pale imitation of its predecessors. It recycles the same basic plot without adding anything new or exciting to the mix. The introduction of the angelic subplot could have been intriguing, but it wasn't fleshed out enough to make a real impact. The film breaks its own established rules and the lore set by the previous movies, creating inconsistencies that are hard to overlook. As a fan of horror and someone who appreciates when sequels build upon their franchises, this was a letdown. If you're considering watching this movie, my advice is to manage your expectations. If you're a completionist who wants to see every entry in the Wishmaster series, then go ahead. But if you're looking for a satisfying horror experience that lives up to the original, you might want to give this one a pass. To sum it all up, here's my breakdown. Story, 2 of 10. The plot is a rehash of the previous movies without any fresh twists, making it feel stale and uninspired. Blood/gore, 3 of 10. Aside from one or two scenes like the gut-puking moment, there's little to satisfy gore enthusiasts. The effects lack impact and creativity. Nudity, 7 of 10. The film finally introduces nudity to the series, but it's not enough to compensate for the other deficiencies. Overall rating 2 of 10. I wish this was a better movie, but unfortunately, it's a turkey. In the realm of horror sequels, especially those that go straight to video or cable, it's not uncommon to see a decline in quality. Wishmaster 3 is a prime example of how a franchise can lose its way when it lacks the vision and resources to bring something new to the table. At the end of the day, horror fans deserve more than just recycled plots and underwhelming scares. Here's hoping that future entries, if any, learn from these missteps and return to what made the original captivating. Thanks for sticking with me through this review. If you've seen Wishmaster 3, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Did it enchant you, or were your wishes left unfulfilled? Drop a comment below and let's chat about it. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this review, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of horror cinema. Until next time, stay curious, stay spooky, and be careful what you wish for.